I really don't know why the press hasn't covered it. I can speculate, but you'd have to ask, CNN rather than me. I've been a little surprised at the lack of support from some mainstream gay organizations. I mean, some like Lambda Legal step right up, and it's just wonderful. But then again, Lambda Legal's been there for all sorts of defense of gay issues that are less than popular. In terms of other more mainstream, even better funded gay organizations, I've been a little surprised by the lack of support.
Any help from HRC?
They honestly do show up to community meetings.
Oh yeah.
But them holding a rally inside the bar or even coming in for a drink, it really don't have a lot to say.
Yeah, it won't happen.
Which that's been really surprising to me is the people who stopped coming in, the people who, not a lot of people have, but one or two regulars, because they were too afraid. They were too afraid to stand beside us, or like a few groups in the city that turned their backs to us, a few gay groups that I'm not going to name, but I've been totally shocked because you ask them about it in public and they'll say that, oh, that never happened, we weren't even involved with them to begin with. So it's amazing how it really shocked me about how the community all got together in New York, whereas here there were times when we'd be in the bar alone and it'd be like, where'd everybody go?
Well, let's just go ahead and address the big elephant that is in the room to some degree about the Eagle. And perhaps it does explain a lack of interest among the HRC and Georgia Equality and all these other organizations that don't really want to touch this case with 10-foot pole. Okay? And the police have been doing their best to talk about all the sex at the Eagle. Now bear in mind that they had 50-some-odd cops. They brought 3 prisoner transport vans to the Eagle. Okay? They were licking their chops to arrest somebody. In fact, they were so anxious to arrest people and take them to jail that they took Chris Lopez, who's a bartender, to jail on a business license violation for a business that he doesn't even run. Okay, he doesn't even own or operate. They went upstairs, entered the apartment of an off-duty assistant manager, okay, and arrested him in his home without a warrant, illegally, in violation of the Supreme Court decision in Peyton v. New York, okay, on a business code, city license violation. So that's how hungry they were to charge people and arrest people and take people to jail. And yet not a single person was arrested for public sex, lewd conduct, indecent exposure. Okay. So there's been all this talk about all the sex going on at the Eagle. I really find it hard to believe that these 50 cops licking their chops to take people to jail would have seen it and then decided not to take anyone to jail. But there's been a lot of talk about sex at the Eagle. And I think people are so, let's just be real honest and candid, people are so, they have mixed feelings about this because, oh, well, sex, so everything's okay. Well, one of the things that in the first meeting that I had with the city attorney that I laid forth as a way to settle this case, and actually at that point, we were willing to settle this case for little or no money. I mean, people cared about other things at that point. And one of the offers that I made at the very first settlement meeting, Greg unfortunately wasn't able to be there, but we were all going to get together and have the settlement meeting. And Greg and I talked in advance, and we said, well, what are we going to ask the city to do? What do we want here? And one of the things that we decided to ask the city to do was to agree to what's known as a consent decree or a consent order, where they go to the judge and they say, Your Honor, we consent to you entering an order requiring us to do something. And what we asked them to agree to was to follow the holdings of 5 or 6 named Supreme Court cases. All we asked them to do was agree to follow the law that has been the law for 20, and in some cases these cases are 30 and 40 years old. We just asked them to agree to follow what the Supreme Court required them to do 40 years ago, and they said no. We have some theories about the reason for this raid, the real reason for this raid, but I like to be really careful about not saying something unless I have evidence and know that what I'm saying, that we can back it up. And at this point, I'll be really honest, we know a lot about what happened. We know a little bit less about why. We're still trying to get the facts about the why. So I'd probably rather not give you any theories, because at this point they're just not based on hard facts. We know more about what happened than why it happened.